Yes, recording is in progress. So, first of all, we offer our obeisances to our spiritual masters and deities as always. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pestaya Bhutare Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deva Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyadi Satarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Chapter 15 is made of 20 verses only, so it's a short chapter, and we are going to discuss each verse. So we are going to have a lot of fun today by studying and discussing each verse. So please be attentive, as you always are, of course, and so you can make some nice questions as you always have. So first of all, the first verse of the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, this is Krishna speaking. And he says, it is said that there is an imperishable banyan tree who has its roots upward and its branches down, and whose leaves are the Vedic hymns. Those who know this tree is the knower of the Vedas. So we are going to explain just in a little minutes what it means, this analogy of a big tree. Banyan is a big tree. In India, it's very common. I don't know if you have any banyan tree here in the States, but in India, it's quite a common tree. So in this case, we are going to see that this banyan tree has the roots upward and its branches down. What does it mean? We are going to explain it in the second verse because it becomes quite clear. The branches of this tree extend downwards and upwards, nourished by the three modes of material nature. The twigs are the object of the senses. This tree also has roots going down, and these are bound to the fruitive actions of human society. The real form of this tree cannot be perceived in this world. No one can understand where it ends, where it begins, or where its foundation is. But with determination, one must cut down the strongly rooted tree with a weapon of detachment. Thereafter, one must seek that place from which, having gone, one never returns, and there surrender to the Supreme Personality of God, from whom everything began, and from whom everything and extended since time immemorial. So now we are going to explain it. So first of all, we know that there is a spiritual world. The world we see is not actually when we are going to begin in 3 weeks. We are going to begin the Srimad Bhagavatam unless you change idea. I'm your servant, whatever you want to do, we are going to do. The first verse, we are going to discuss about how the Vedas say that this world is false. So what does it mean? Of course, we are going to explain in 3 or 4 weeks. But here we have a similar concept because the material world is compared to the spiritual world, but in the opposite way, on the opposite reality. Whatever is true in the spiritual world is false here, and whatever is false in the spiritual world is real here, and we are going to explain what does it mean. So first of all, let's see what this word false means. Let's take the analogy of the dream. At night we dream, and we are completely taken by the dream. We are convinced that we are there, and we laugh or we cry, and we feel completely in another world. And that world means everything to us. So it's real, it's not false, but it's a reality which exists only in our mind. When we wake up, in 1 second, it vanishes, and we don't even remember. Very rarely we remember what our dream is. So this material world is like a dream. It just lasts a little long because we are completely involved in what we do, and we don't understand that what we are living is just a dream. So the question would be, what do you mean that the dream is totally false, that does not exist, and this life is false, I don't exist, you don't exist, we are not talking right now, it's just nothing? No, this is not what the Bhagavatam will say, and this is not what the Bhagavad Gita is saying. The Bhagavad Gita is saying that there is an absolute reality, and compared to that reality, this is false. Because we are not part of this reality. We are part of the other reality. So if we say that what I'm living now, what I'm experimenting now is false, no, it's not false. I exist, my body exists, this city exists, you exist, but it's not real in absolute, because we are part of another reality. And the proof is that we are going to live it, just like a dream. A dream exists, yes, the dream is real, because otherwise you won't have all the emotions that we experiment at night, but it's just temporary. So compared to the physical life, our dream is just false, but it's not false in absolute. And you will see, like in the, excuse me. And you will see, and we are going to spend some time again, when we read the famous Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Jamadya Sayatam Vayadi Tarato Chata Swapikya Swarat, etc. Verse, very famous verse. Or the Srimad Bhagavatam, we are going to see that the Bhagavata says this world is false and appears real even to great demigods. But then during the Bhagavatam, it explains again, it's not false in absolute, it's just temporary, just like a dream. A dream is real, but it's temporary. So when you wake up and you enter into the other reality, so then you say, oh no, the dream is false. And when one day we wake up in the spiritual world, we will think, oh no, the body that I had when I was a man in the States, that's false. But while we experiment my situation here, that is not false. It's relatively true. Relatively. Relative means it relates to a state of consciousness. It relates to a certain time. It relates to a certain situation. But then, again, when we enter into the other reality, we think, oh no, that is false. So this concept has to be understood, because there is a philosophy, or actually there are many philosophies who say that this world is false, does not exist. You think to be a man or a woman, to be white, black, rich or or poor or whatever, but actually that nothing exists. It's just a void. This is a Buddhism. A certain branch of Buddhism say that the world is just void. There is nothing. And realization means to realize that nothing is true. Nirvishesha Shunyavada. Shunya means zero, void. And so we are not Buddhist, and we don't embrace, we don't accept this philosophy that everything is absolutely unreal, because it has some relative reality. While the absolute reality, it is absolute because it doesn't depend on anything, it's eternal. And then that is the real reality. So this material world, it is a projection of the spiritual world. Srila Prabhupada makes the example of the tree. Not only Krishna is making the example of the banyan tree, and Srila Prabhupada also makes other uses other analogies. And one of these analogies, it says, if you have a tree on the bank of a lake where the water is very calm, it's flat, so the tree reflects on the water and it appears just like the real tree. There's no difference. You see the form, you see the color, everything, but it's not real. Why? Because if you try to take the fruit or the tree projected in the water, there is no tree, there is no fruit, because it has just the form, doesn't have the substance. So to have the fruit, you need to take it from the real tree. So this material world, it looks like it's real. You can take the fruit of this world. You can take whatever. You can be happy, you can have a family, you can have this, you can have that, but everything is just a form. There is no substance. And that's why we are very convinced in saying that nobody in this material world can actually be happy. There is some type of happiness and pleasure, but this is the fool's happiness, because it doesn't last. And even while you are experimenting this pleasure, it's just not enough to completely satisfy you, to completely satisfy the soul. Just like this nice verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam, where the word Atmarama has been mentioned. The word Atmarama means self-satisfied. Self-satisfied means that you don't need anything outside of you to be satisfied. Everything is already there. You stay at home, you chant Hare Krishna, you study, you write some books or whatever, you worship your deities, and you're happy. You don't need to be friends and go to the cinema, or I don't know what you do. I already have forgotten what people do after so many years of being a devotee. But you don't need anything else. You just have everything inside you. So here Krishna, in the first 4 verses, is saying that when someone understands this principle, that this material world is just a projection, a perverted projection of what exists in the spiritual world, that there is no form, there is no substance, it's just form. It appears, but it is not. Then he knows the Vedas, Vedavit. Vedavit means a knower of the Vedas. And because this is the main message of the Vedas. The Vedas tells us about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Veda tells us about this material world. The Veda tells us about the spiritual world. There are other religions who say God exists, but they don't tell you who he is. They don't tell you where he is. They don't tell you how he's made. They don't tell you how he thinks. They don't tell you what he likes, what he dislikes. Well, dislike, yes, they tell you. and but you don't have a clear idea who God is. While the Vedas are very, very detailed. There are an infinite quantity of details that tell you what Krishna does, what he likes, his pastimes. Krishna have fun with his friends. Have you ever thought that God maybe play with his friends? God has friends anyway, you know? I remember the first time that I entered into the temple, the devotee just finished to worship Tulasi, it was a night, and they were having the kirtan. I entered inside, and I was like I don't know in English how to say. I don't know the word in English. I was like hallucinated positively, you know, this atmosphere and the deities and the plant. So in 1 second, I thought, oh, this is not normal. So let me see what they say. Let me see if they are crazy or they are normal people. And I said, who are they on the altar? And who is this, the plant? And the devotee very normal, oh, this is God, and that is his brother, and this is his best devotee, is a plant. So for a fraction of a second, that these people are really crazy, but they are nice, crazy people, because I never thought that God had a brother. I never thought that a plant could be the biggest devotee of the Lord. It was something really extraordinary. And right after, I saw a picture of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the devotee said, look, you know, this is another God. I say, how many gods? No, it's the same God. It's just a different thing. And his hands are raised to his knees. And I said, oh my God, these people are really far out. You know, I would try to touch my knee with I couldn't. It had really long arms, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is just a parenthesis, just to say that sometimes we worry too much about what we say to people. Of course, we have to be a little sane. We should not go around to the person entering the first time to the temple, say this is God, this is his brother, and try to avoid saying, God also as a lover, because this is really too much, and then try to be a little sane. But even something comes out, I mean, it's Krishna preaches by its own, and he will he will know how to purify people so that they can understand the very elevated transcendental principles. Okay, so this material world is not easy place to defeat, because it's very convincing, very, very convincing. And due to our past activities, our mind and intelligence is already formed. And to deform it, that means to change it or to reprogram it, it's not easy. It's not the easy stuff. Because when a copybook is blank, it's very easy to write. When a copybook is already written, it's a mess. You try to write, you know, try to say, no, this is wrong, and then you don't have space to write anything because it's already written. So this material world is not an easy place to live if one wants to live the greatest adventure there is. People have dreams. They want to be rich, they want to be famous, they want to be this, they want to be that. But this is nothing. This is just nothing. This is zero. It will finish. You know, I sometimes, every day, I spend 5-10 minutes just reading the titles of the newspaper, just to have an idea what's going on in this place, in this world. And I see Italian newspaper and CNN, I read the titles. Very rarely I read the article, you know, because from the title you understand everything. You know, you don't need to go through the whole thing, all the people. But you see pictures. You see pictures of the great actors or politicians that you knew when you were young, when I was a kid, and you see how old they are, how old they are. But they don't understand that their life is ending, is finished. They are really old. So the greatest adventure is not to become famous, because it's got to finish. The great adventure to find out if eternity actually exists. This is the greatest adventure in life. Because if it doesn't exist, then you have no wasted your life, because being a devotee is not a bad life. You know, it's a nice place, nice people, nice philosophy. Everything is nice. Prasad is good. Everything is nice. But if it exists and you don't do this research, you have lost the greatest opportunity of your existence. Actually, not of your existence, but of many existence. You have wasted the greatest opportunity. So don't waste it, and dedicate your life to find out if eternity exists, and if the type of eternity the Krishna consciousness give you actually exists, as we find in the scriptures. So in the fourth verse of the 15th chapter, Krishna says that the way how to begin spiritual life. Many times, always, people ask, so what actually I have to do? You know? So Krishna says a very, very short, clear instruction when he says detachment. Asanga Shastrena, the weapon of detachment. You had to start thinking philosophically and start detaching from the material world, understanding that it's just don't, you know, it's not worth to be attached to the spiritual world. Therefore, one must seek the greatest venture I was talking about a couple of minutes ago. Here, Krishna said the same thing. Devi, you had to seek the place from which, once having gone, one never returns. That's eternity. You want to go away from a place where death, old age, and disease is there. You don't want to be here. And then you surrender to Supreme Personality of God, from whom everything began, and etc., etc. So we have learned a few very important principles that to begin spiritual life, one is to practice detachment from the material world, and that the greatest way of living a life is to dedicate looking for eternity from Krishna consciousness. So now the verse number 5, this is very interesting. This is very interesting because it gives you a list of things that you have to do, you know, very often, every day, basically. There are people asking me, what is the quality of an advanced devotee? How can I recognize if I am advancing in spiritual life or not? Am I advancing? I don't think I'm advancing. You know, worse than yesterday. So what's that? So the scriptures have an endless list, so many lists, thousands of lists of qualities, and we just have to read them, and then we see if this is working with us. First of all, we should be free from false prestige. this is something, of course, materialistic people, they want to be important, devotee, important people in the world, but but even within devotees, sometimes I can see that there are people who are very attached to become important devotees, just because they wanted to be somebody, in the material world. They didn't make it, or they could have made it, but they just chose another path, another life, and still they want to be important. But here Krishna says you should be free from mana. Mana means false prestige. Doesn't matter if you are an important devotee or not an important devotee. What it matters that you are a devotee. Because an important devotee, you are important from how many years? And then if you are not pure, you are going to be born who knows where, who knows in what body. Maybe you are a worm somewhere. So all your false prestige. So we should be careful not to be searching for prestige. Illusion means I want material things. And false association. Oh, I like my friend. Oh, I like my son. I like my daughter. I like this. I like that. It's so temporary. You become attached to a little doll talking about sons or daughters or granddaughters, in my case, and you become attached. It's a little doll to play. It's like going back when you were a baby. You had those dolls and you liked it so much, especially older people. They go back being like kids again. They want to play with dolls, and they grow up and they become children and they become big and they get boyfriends or girlfriends and they go to school like us, equal, and in a few seconds it's finished. The doll is gone. You don't have that body anymore. So the understanding of eternal is very important. You have to make difference between what is eternal and what is not eternal. Lust means desire to enjoy our body. Lust is not just sex. Lust is everything that gives some positive emotion, or in the case of some sick people, just emotions, even negative emotions. About negative emotion, we have spoken about that some time ago. We are not going to repeat the concept, but between being no emotion, better have negative emotion than no emotions. That's the point, because no emotion, you don't exist. Bad emotion, at least you say, okay, now I'm suffering, but I want to become happy. But with no emotion, you just feel lost. Just like when people retire, they don't know what to do with their life anymore, and they dream to go back to work, even if they never like they work. Okay, and so material lust means wanting to enjoy this body, physical body or subtle body. There are other happiness. It's not that we have to renounce happiness. We never say that. We don't say that we have to renounce happiness. We say that we should renounce happiness caused by the material body. There are spiritual happiness, and that we had to look for, because we are spirit soul, so we need happiness, but we need spiritual happiness, not material. And those who are unbewildered, this is a very nice word, unbewildered, amudha. Mudha means foolish. Amudha means not foolish. Those who are not foolish, they go looking for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for Sri Krishna. And how to become a Buddha, you have to study, you have to practice, you have to understand this philosophy. By hearing this philosophy, just like all of you come here every Thursday, and I admire you for all of this, because every week, some of you, they come twice, Saturday also, because they speak Spanish. So I very much like to see you coming Thursday. And so this is the symptom that you are advancing in spiritual life. Because if you don't feel some pleasure in hearing Krishna, why you are here? It's maybe one or twice you can do, okay, let's go to hear what that man has to say. But it cannot last for 15 times. 15 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, 1, 2, 3, that's okay. So we have some who were coming here and they stop coming because they get tired. They don't have taste. They don't have spiritual taste. They want go see some movie or who knows what. So you are practicing very nicely. Even sometimes I'm sure that you will prefer to do something else still. You come to our Bhagavad Gita, or you go to a temple, or you do service, etc., etc. And this is the symptom that you are advancing in spiritual life, and that makes me very happy. So, na tat bhasayate suryo na shashanko na pavaka. You see, again, we know what is the spiritual world. It's not just heaven. Some scripture, they speak about heaven. Okay, thank you very much. And then, what is this heaven? What is there in this heaven? Would you please explain me? No, you have to have faith. Faith in what? Tell me what I have to have faith in what? And here, he says something extraordinary. Of course, we know that extraordinary description, the spiritual world is very common in our scripture, but here it says something incredible. The supreme abode of mind, the spiritual world, is not illuminated by moon or the sun. Whoever thought about a detail like this? Whoever thought to go to our religion, representative religion, and say, look, in the spiritual world, there is electricity, because here he's saying, illuminated at the sun or moon by fire or electricity. Did you ever think about asking anyone in this? You know, in the heaven, there is electricity. Do I have to pay my CPS? Nobody, I don't think, I never thought about a detail like that. It's just extraordinary that Krishna is telling us that the spiritual world is self-illuminated. Doesn't need a sun or the moon. It just illuminates by itself. And when Krishna wants some darkness, it just turns off, or it turns off not completely. Let's say it becomes a little dark. And those who go to the spiritual world never come back. Yagatvana nivartante taddhama paramam mama, they never come back. So this is a very important information. This verse is very important. It gives you two informations. One, the spiritual world is self-illuminated. And second, once you go there, you never come back. Thank you very much. That's enough. Okay. So we should not be afraid. They say, okay, if I go back in the spiritual world, what about if I do the same nonsense that I did in the beginning, and I can come back in this stupid world, you know, being in prison in a skeleton with blood and pus and stool and urine. I don't want to be here. You know, this is a restroom, it's not a body. I want to go to the spiritual world in a spiritual body. And Krishna says, don't worry. If you go back, you don't come back. You never come back. And we can believe. If he says something, we can believe. The living entities in this material world are my eternal fragmental parts. So here in this verse, Krishna is telling us who we are. And this is extraordinary, because, of course, the question of who I am, who am I, who I am, is very common between intelligent people. Intelligent people ask, who am I? And Krishna says, oh, it's very simple. Maybe we have spent who knows how many lives trying to understand who am I, you know? And the living entities, Mamaivancho, Jiva Loka, Jiva Bhuta, Sanatana. Krishna is saying very simply, just out of the blue, boom, you are part of me, of the Supreme Lord. However, because you choose to come in this material world, you are struggling in this world. Karshati, the jiva, karshati means struggling to live in this material world. We had to get a job, and we had to go to a doctor, and we had to go to the dentist, and we got so many things, and the tax and crazy presidents and all kinds of things. This is an unbelievable world. Okay, everything crazy happens, and why? Because the spirit soul comes in a world that is unnatural for him, because he's a spirit. What is he doing in a matter? Two different energy, completely incompatible, one with the other. It's like a water and oil and water. You can try to mix them, shake them to make, but then they separate again because they are molecularly incompatible. So the and then the Shariram Yaravapnoti, this is another very important verse. A living entity, material world carries different conception of life from one body to another, just like air carries aromas. You should study this verse. You should give some time to this 15:8 verse. That the living entity is not pure, is encapsulated. This word exists in English, encapsulated, inside a capsule that is the subtle body made of identification, consciousness, intelligence, and mind. This is the four elements forming the subtle body. Why the gross body, this one, will disappear, but the impressions that you had collected during this life are there in the subtle body. Just like the memory of a computer. You write, you forget everything, you turn off the computer, but what you wrote is still there, okay? So you are happy with this, there's this impression. This impression is stored into your subtle body. It's not that you remember this bottle of water, but you remember it's like, you can say it's like an impression. It's a stamp, okay? And it's there. You don't remember why you had this impression. You don't remember why you like this, you dislike that in some new body, but you do like it. And this comes from the previous lives, where you had some impression that makes you like something and dislike some other thing. Just like the air carries aromas, the subtle body carries from one body to another the impression caused by our sensorial experiences. Okay? So this is a very important thing to know if you want to know how the material world works. The living entity then take another body. When this body becomes useless for old age or accident or whatever, you cannot continue living in this body, and you take another body. This is very simple. There are sometimes people say, do you believe in reincarnation? Of course we believe in incarnation. If we are spirit soul, when we leave this body, what do we do? Where do we go? We have to go somewhere. We cannot stay in the air. Okay, so the reincarnation eternity of the soul is just consequential. If we are the spirit soul, we must take another body. Unless, of course, we are liberated, you don't need any other material body. But if you are not liberated, then you must take another body. And what type of body you take, that depends from your consciousness, on the consciousness that you have at the moment of death. Let's call it death. Death does not exist. Death is a human invention, because the body never lived and the soul never dies. So what is death? What dies? Nothing dies. Okay, death is just the coming out of the soul from the body, and then the body does not express anymore the quality of life because it never had it. It was just a car, and just like you drive a car, and you park it, you go out, and the car dies. The car does not, never lived. The car does not move anymore because there is not anymore the chauffeur, the driver, making it move. The same thing. The soul makes the body move. When the soul leaves the body is done, and it goes to another body. And then, depending from the state of consciousness, we will see. We still have to arrive to that verse. Yam yam vapi smaram bhavan tyajati ante kalevaram tantam evaiti kantaya saratad bhavavita. This verse say very clearly that does not depend on what you think at the moment of death, because this opens the door to all sorts of hypocritical people saying, no, it doesn't matter what I do in life. At the end of my 1 minute before, I think to God and I will go back to God. That's not true. Because what decides is a state of consciousness that you have at the moment of leaving the body. Okay, and the state of consciousness is the total result of what you did during life. Of course, if you are able to think about God at the last minute of your life, it's good. I'm not saying that it's bad, it's good. But that is not decisive. What is decisive is a state of consciousness. Tata bhavam. Bhavam is the verb to be, and not to remember. To be what you are at the moment of death. Death will give you another body. So if you desire another, some people told me, I remember, oh no, but I will go to another body because I really want it. Okay, I want to be something. I want to be rich. I want to be beautiful. I want to be powerful. I want to be. And I have a bad news for these people because it's not your desire. It's what you deserve. You take a body according to what you deserve. And deserving is determined by your actions. So you have to understand what actions give you a good result. That is what the Vedas are all about. The Vedas tells you what to do according to what you want. You want to be rich? Okay, this is the chapter, what you have to do. You have to do this puja, you have to do this, you have to give money to a temple, you have to give this and that. Big list. You do this all your life, next life you will be rich, or even this life you'll become rich. Okay? Just like there is a story on the book I'm finishing, in a month this new book will come out, that Maharaja Vrishabhanu was very rich because Radharani was living in his house. Radharani is Lakshmi Devi. Lakshmi Devi is the fortune. So Vrishabhanu Maharaja was very lucky, for everything, anything he did was a success. He was very rich. So we had to know the science of karma. Karma kanda, that's why the chapter dedicated to, if you, whatever you want, you have to know the science, how to deserve it. The verse number 12, Yada Ditya Gatam Tejo, the splendor, there are some verse after that he give some more information about the Supreme Personality. Again, details. Some people say, well, okay, I believe, I have faith, so I don't need to read this. It gets boring. I know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God, you know, etc., etc. You don't understand the importance of hearing these details so that we know who God is, where he lives, what he does. The splendor of the sun comes from me, which dissipates the darkness of the whole world. So he's talking about a physical sun, but also a conceptual sun. If you hear Krishna's message, the darkness of ignorance will go away, and then your life will be fully illuminated by the sun from the light of knowledge. The splendor of the moon and fire also comes from me. So how the planets float in the universe? Of course, there is also science, Vedic science, that explain this principle. But here Krishna cuts short, and in other books he explains more. But here say, I enter into each planet, and by my energy they stay in orbit. More than 5,000 years ago, they already knew about the orbit of the universe. People say that a few thousand years ago, there were dinosaurs, you know, the people were big hairs and taking women by the hairs with a big club, you know, and eating with the hand, etc. Bhagavad Gita was spoken 5,000 years. Actually, Krishna said that it was spoken for the first time 120 million years ago. Okay, and they already knew that the universe, the planets float in the universe, and he becomes the moon and supply jewels of life to all vegetables. I am the fire of digestion in the bodies of all living entities, and I join with the air of life, all outgoing and ingoing, to digest the four kinds of foodstuffs. This is an important verse, 15:15. Don't forget it. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto matta smriti jnanam apohanam cha vidaischa sarvai aham eva vedyo vedanta krid vedavid eva chaham. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. If we had to talk about this verse, we will be here until the next Thursday. So we'll leave it. We'll build a bridge between this Thursday to the other Thursday. It's not possible. So, Dvavimao Purushao Loke, there are two classes of beings, the fallible and infallible. In the material world, everyone is fallible. In the spiritual world, every living entity is called infallible. You see, what is the difference between being a liberated soul and a conditioned soul? That your life is perfect if you are a liberated soul. And besides these two types of living entity, the one who lives in the material world and the other who lives in the spiritual world, there is the greatest of all, who is the Supreme Lord, the Yo Lokatrayam Visha Vibhartya Vyaya Ishvaraha, the Lord Ishvara. because I am transcendental, is never part of the material. Even when he comes in this material world, he is always transcendental. And all the Vedas celebrate me as the Purushottama. Purusha means person. The Uttama means the greatest of all. Then, whoever knows me as a Supreme Personality of Godhead without doubting is the knower of everything. He therefore engages himself in full devotional service to me, or Bharata, a son of Bharata, or descendant of Bharata. And again, Krishna never loses the opportunity to tell us that the yoga, the best yoga that you can do is devotional service to the Supreme Lord. Devotional service means to serve, do something, go to the temple, clean the room, bring some money, bring some water, bring some fruit, ask the devotees, what can I do? If you have a spiritual master, ask the spiritual, what can I do for you? And this is devotional service. And the last, and on the least, verse, this is the most confidential part of Vedic scriptures, and it is disclosed now by me. Whoever understands this will become wise, and his endeavors will know perfection. For us, we have been hearing this philosophy for so long, it looks like almost normal. But try to enter into this, the shoes of the people who know nothing about Krishna, how he is, what he says, what he thinks, how to go back to him, and all this vast body of knowledge. They know nothing, you know. So that's why Krishna said this is the most confidential part. So why is saying confidential? We distribute Bhagavad Gita all over the world. It's not very confidential. There are millions of people reading the Bhagavad Gita. It is confidential because people do not understand it. They may read the Bhagavad Gita, but it's like, you know, it's like deaf ears. They hear, but they don't hear. It doesn't go inside. So Krishna blesses people to understand this philosophy, and those who are not ready to understand this philosophy, they will not be blessed. So that's why this knowledge is very confidential. It's not for everybody, which means that we had to preach it, we had to teach it to people, and but only some of them will understand. And we, as a long-time preachers, we know this. We know that we preach to hundreds of thousands of people in our lives, and how many become devotees, how many improve their spiritual life, very few. So this is why this knowledge is confidential. Not many people will understand it, and not many people will practice it, and not many people will continue. There will be several stages from nothing to be a pure devotee. There are very numerous stages, and we see that some people arrive to a certain stage and then they stop. So we try to encourage people, never stop, try always to improve, to do something more, something to improve your spiritual life. Okay, so we have arrived about the 15th chapter. Now we have 16, 17, and 18, and we have finished the Bhagavad Gita. Of course, in 3 weeks will be finished, but it is very clear to everyone that it is a general survey of the Bhagavad Gita. It's never been in-depth study of the Bhagavad Gita. There are people who study the Bhagavad Gita the whole of their lives. You know, these 700 verses of the Bhagavad Gita are a real treasure, most valuable. Okay, so now we have spent 1 hour, And now we have plenty of time for your nice questions. I hope that you have written down a few of them. Everyone should come here at least with 2 or 3 questions. That would be so nice that you write down during the week, so that conversation will stay alive. Okay, so before I think Cassandra is already in, but I just want to say about our service that the devotee who is editing the Italian Radha Krishna Ganodesha Deepika has promised me, he had promised for the past week, he couldn't do it, but he promised me that the book will be completely ready for printing this Sunday. So I hope, again, he's busy man like you. So. And the other book, which will be unedited, that means it's written purely by me, so there will be outrageous amount of mistakes because I don't read Italian and rarely speak Italian either. So this book is written in Italian and is a geographical and historical telling of part of Vrindavan. I tell all the stories that happens here with maps. So when you go to India, you say, oh, this place is here, and here there is the whole story. So this is my book, and this is just a small part of Vrindavan. And I wrote it in Italian, and I hope that will be translated. These books deserves to be translated, because a lot of pastimes, a lot of things that you never heard. And in Spanish, and of course in English also. And this is called Nandagram, the book of Nandagram. And of course, I'm working on all the other books now, but taking until now for our, you call it the library. There are many books that I'm putting out, although the whole thing is not out yet because I don't have time, because I'm putting out books and not many people are buying them. So it means that, the interest is not very strong. So I take time because, okay, there's no, if even books, in such important books like Vishnu Purana or Brahmavaivarta Purana, that as a boy I was dreaming about reading them. They're there, and nobody's buying them. It means that the interest is not so keen, and then I take time. But now there are these 2 books in Italian coming out soon. And to finish, has been printed the Mahabharata in Spanish with a hardcover, but we have put it invisible because we are waiting for a copy, and if it's okay, then we'll put it visible. But thing is, as you know, we have said this many times, there were some orthographic mistake and we want it perfect, but Rosario is working on this, and then we will not sell it, because when one spends like $25 for a book, he doesn't want orthographic mistakes, If it is 14 or like this, he can accept it. 25 is a serious amount of money for many people, and we want the books to be perfect. And to finish the famous Mahabharata in English, I know that the half of Bhakta Andy is only 20 or 30 pages left. I don't know how many pages, but Rosario has them. Maybe you can tell us how many pages are missing.
Hare Krishna, querido Guru Maharaj, Hare Krishna, dear devotees. I'm about, let me see, I'm missing like 12 pages. So by the weekend, I will be done with the English half that I'm working with and with the volume 1 from the Spanish version.
You made me happy. Now I am a happy man.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
So let's say that in 1 month we have 20 days, maybe we have volume 1, but we will publish both books, you know, volume 1 and 2, maybe 1 month for both volumes. We will publish them at the same time. And I'm very, very, very anxious to put the Mahabharata in English, finally. I'm very, very anxious. And that's it. So, but in Cassandra, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances.
Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
So I do have several questions after this lecture. It was very, very good. But I will go ahead and start with this one. So you referred to one has to study and practice, but I've heard you also say before that we have to study and meditate. So I'm just kind of I want more of an elaboration on those on what that really means. But I also would like maybe like a practical example of how to do that, because when I think of study and practice, I have this very material approach of thinking what that would look like, because I've studied and practiced for college and schools and things like that. So if you can help me with that, thank you.
So first of all, when you explain something, you explain them at certain degrees. At the beginning, you check out the general principle. General principle is that you have to study and practice. Full stop. Turn the pages. Then you explain what it means to practice, what is, for instance, meditation. We spoke about meditation because I will make a very, very practical, very simple example of meditation. For instance, you chant Hare Krishna every day. And so how many of those Hare Krishna you actually hear? Meaning, when you say Hare Krishna, how many of those enter into your ear actually? Meaning, again, that you don't think to anything else. You are just concentrated in your mind, just listen, not just the sound enter into your ear, but your mind is listening. I don't think many, because you will be a monster. I never met one person who says, yes, I chant Hare Krishna for 2 hours. 1 hour, I hear all the memory. I won't believe it even if you tell me. So meditation means the effort to listen, not just hear, to listen to what you are saying. Hare Krishna enters into your ear and your mind listens the Hare Krishna. Because we can hear the mantra. It's not that we don't hear the mantra, but we are thinking to something else. Or we don't understand what to think about this Hare Krishna. That's where the part of knowledge comes. Because when an advanced devotee listens to Hare Krishna, he goes in ecstasy. Because why? Because he knows what he's talking about. He knows who Krishna is. He knows who Radharani is. Why? Because he listened to the pastimes, the philosophy. So for him, Krishna means more than what means to you or to me or many other devotees. It means more. So Krishna, ecstasy. Hare Krishna, you think to something else. Then this is meditation. Meditation is to put your attention, not just attention, again, I want to repeat the concept, not just attention, a qualified attention. Attention full with knowledge of who Krishna is. This is one example of meditation. Studying is not easy because first of all, not many people has attraction to knowledge. Many devotees, unfortunately, even between devotees, they are just bored, no, about studying. So there are many devotees who say the studying is not necessary. I remember, you remember, there was that devotee who looks a little weird, you know, like a bum, dressed, a beard, dirty, etc. And he said, don't talk much. You remember that I was about to start, and it's just chant Hare Krishna. We were chanting hours and hours. Well, I can see the results, you know. So, and you should, why? Because you chant. You are not chanting Hare Krishna, you are just chanting. You like to chant. If it was not Hare Krishna, you were chanting Bob Dylan, or, okay, for you, Bob Dylan is like prehistory. You know, I don't know what is the famous singer is today. But at my age, Bob Dylan and the Cream and Clapton and all these big musicians were, so we were also singing their songs. So if we don't know who Krishna is, chanting Hare Krishna or chanting other thing, is not going to be any difference. That's why chanting and studying, they should go together. Not just one, not just the other one, both at the same time, the same quantity, the same quality, because one will help the other one. Chanting will help you understand, and understanding will help you chanting. So you should read, you should listen, and you should preach. The best way to learn is to repeat what you heard. And don't worry, don't never say to anyone, I don't know much. So maybe you should listen to this Prabhu or the other Prabhu because they know more. This is not right. If you don't know something, don't fake it. Don't say something if you're not sure that it's right. So just be honest, be humble, and say, I don't know. Okay? But say what you know. You know, when it's my first class, you know, when I gave my first class, the second time I entered into the temple, I was in blue jeans and I had my long hairs. I was 18. Because the first day I heard the class of a devotee who told the story of Narasimha, and as a young man, I had an unbelievable memory. I could remember anything, any detail, any name and place, even if I never heard before. So the second day that I went to the temple, a devotee, there was no one to give a class. And the temple president was busy. He came to me and he said, can you give the class? I told you yesterday, can you give the class? Me? And it was full. The temple was like 10, 20 people, you know. And I said, me? You know, I didn't even, you know, I was not a devotee. But yes, you just repeat what you heard yesterday. I sit down on the outside and I gave a class. So they had this microphone and the temple president could hear it up in their office. Then he came down and said, it's very nice, very nice. You have some talent for giving classes. So I never stopped giving classes. Although, as a young man, I could have said many wrong things, and I said many wrong things. So you listen and you repeat. Any opportunity you have to preach or teach, or however you like the verb. You know, in Italian, preach it's not a nice word. Teach, say it. And your mother said that you're a very nice teacher of Krishna consciousness. So you should continue practice, and you will see that you will be empowered if you repeat what you hear. And then you also will develop taste for Krishna Katha. So, resuming, you should study and chant. One helps the other one. You listen and you repeat, and you will advance in spiritual life.
Thank you, Maharaj. I also have other questions, but I can wait and we can rotate around if that's okay.
Okay, Bhakti Rosario.
Thank you very much. Guru Maharaj, I would like to get some clarification on the question that Yogavit Prabhu asked the other day, last week, I think, probably last Saturday, about the karma with people that are mentally ill. I'm sorry, but I couldn't, I still have doubts. This is why I'm bringing this back to your attention. And my question is, if there is a different formula, I know that a person that is mentally insane is crazy, let's say, because of his or her past lives. So I understood that part, but I don't know. I think that a person that is mentally impaired, that take a cat and skin the cat, is not the same as if I take a cat and skin the cat. So my question is there a different formula, karmatic or karma-based, for people that are mentally ill?
Okay, so let's say that I harm my body and then I go driving, or let's make one absurd example. Yes, I get drunk and I know that I'm drunk. I still drive and I kill somebody while driving. So who is responsible? I was crazy while I was driving drunk. I was crazy. So am I responsible? Of course I'm responsible, because although from the point of view of relative situation, I could be judged as a mentally impaired because I was drunk, but I drank. Nobody told me to drink.
But it's not the same to be wrong, Guru Maharaj, than to be mentally ill.
Yes.
Permanently mentally ill.
So if someone is mentally ill, why is he mentally ill? Is he mentally ill because he practiced a life that made him mentally ill? If we want to judge the life of one person simply in this short segment of life, that we misunderstand everything. We cannot be a philosopher if we restrict ourselves in judging something just in this little period of time. We need to enlarge our vision in such a way we can understand the things as they are. Be careful, be very careful, because we should not mix things together, okay? For instance, I made a very clear example. Saturday, I remember very clearly, I made an example, one judge that I knew in Italy, that he was also evidently a little crazy because he believed in karma. So he judged one person, I don't remember what actually happened. He killed or he stole something, and he how you say when the person gets is not guilty? How you say that in English? Help me. Huh?
Innocent?
Innocent?
Okay, well, someone is innocent, so the judge says he's innocent. Okay, so because he said that because that was the karma of the person, of the other person. You cannot apply this philosophy to normal life. If you want a society, the absolute philosophy cannot be implemented. You cannot judge, you cannot be a judge with the karma law, because the people will not understand you. If someone kills, is guilty, he has to go to prison. Full stop, okay? But we as philosophers, it's different. Philosophers, we want real knowledge. We don't want to know why the person killed the other one. Oh, he killed the other one because she betrayed him or stupid things like that, and then she killed her or things like that. Who cares about these things, you know? We don't care because it's always, this has been millions of years and the same thing going on and on and on. And so we want to know more. We want to know why, because we want to get freed from this world. We don't want to live in a just material world. We want to live in a spiritual world. So terrenal justice is one thing. For those who want to get away from this world, the philosophy changes. You cannot think to a crazy person that is innocent just because he's crazy. You cannot think that, because he's not crazy because Krishna hates him and made him crazy. He's crazy because he deserved to be crazy. So a judge will see him as the most innocent. A philosopher will say, no, you are not innocent, you are guilty. You understand the two things? They're different, cannot mix them, because otherwise we look crazier than we look already. Okay, we think that someone is innocent because of karma. We cannot do this, even from the point of view of a Vedic society. If someone was a thief, he was punished. The king would not say, okay, you know, you stole, but the person that you stole from deserved it because of karma. No, no. The Vedic laws are very, very severe. You could be, you know, to do something very serious, you could have been killed by the king. So there are two different things. It is a little clearer now.
I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. That makes me think then that people in that situation will never be free from the disgrace of the karma, because the decisions they make are based on their mental impairment. Therefore, they don't have hopes. There is no hopes.
Of course they will, because it will finish. Just like your bank account. If you keep spending, then your bank account will become empty, and then you have to put more money. So this situation that he caused, this disease in this person, is temporary. It will finish, and then next life it will be Einstein, when he will be a perfectly normal person. Everything is temporary. It's a beginning and end, good or bad. It's a moment of beginning and a moment of end. Okay? So he's now deceased. He will cease to be deceased. And of course, the bad things that he does while he's mentally impaired, of course, there's less new karma, because he did it in a situation that he is really very little responsible of what he was doing. He's finally responsible because he's crazy, because he did something very bad in his past life. But then what he does in this life, it counts very little. Because why? Because he's less responsible.
Okay. Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Thank you very much.
I saw Bhakta Andy for 1 second, and then he retried this.
I have his question. He asked me to ask because he can't ask the question, so I'll ask it for him. So he says, can you explain in a practical way what's happening during the purification process? I have an idea that part of the process is us having to see our faults more and more until we get fed up and decide to do something about it. Does this sound like part of it?
No, cannot say it again. I did not really grasp.
Oh, you didn't hear? Okay.
No, I heard, but I didn't understand what he meant.
Oh, okay. So I will kind of summarize. I think I get what he's saying. He's basically wanting to know a practical way of the purification process. He's saying, like, is there something that's very noticeable that he can see that can be shown? One example he used was us having to see and experience our shortcomings, our faults. As he says, is that part of the purification process, is having to become more awakened to the illusions we're in and the attachments we have to this material world.
Making this type of questions is very noticeable of spiritual advancement. Coming to these classes are very noticeable symptoms of spiritual advancement. Going regularly to the temple is very noticeable. Putting dhoti and sari and combing your hair and the shaving and having a shika and these are all very noticeable symptoms of spiritual advancement. Thing is that when someone is particularly intelligent, meaning a very, I would say in English, a type of intelligence who is, I'm going to open, lively or sprightly type of intelligence, then you want to always see something more, something different. But spiritual life, you have to be more acute. Acute? Acute, sharp, in the sense that you have to go inside the details to understand if you are advancing or not, and not like a huge mystic experience of Krishna coming in front of you and playing the flute or having ecstasy, so who knows what, you know. Sometimes you understand your spiritual advancement by very little detail that you have to be able to notice. Of course, one symptom of spiritual advancement is that you become humble, you know, and then that precludes you to really see your spiritual advancement, but doesn't preclude you to see the details. I see details. I can see the details of devotees, and you can see your details, and you should learn what details you should give importance. Like make questions. This is very important, because why is he making questions? He's making questions because he likes Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, he won't be here talking about this. Obvious. So making this type of questions are a clear symptom of spiritual advancement. And when you do this month after month after month, year and after year after year, this is another proof that this spiritual advancement is not like a passenger in your consciousness. It's there to stay, you know. And time is very important, because time, because time wears out. Wears out? Yeah. Yeah. Wears out because in time you become accustomed, because now certain philosophical questions for you is like, wow, I never thought about that. But in 1 or 2 years you have heard these answers for so many times, and there is no wows anymore. You already heard it. So at that point, if your spiritual advancement is not rooted in your consciousness, and you find pleasure in a deeper wows, where you want to know things that you didn't even know that you could ask, because you didn't know their existences. You will see in 20, 30, 40, 50 years of your devotional service, things come out that you never thought that would exist. philosophical or historical or geographical or places that you never heard before, you become very curious. What this place? I never heard about this place. I've been a devotee for 50 years now, and I didn't know that this place existed, or that Krishna did this or said that. Then we come in time. And so if someone is advancing, then you don't get wear out. While if your spiritual, your interest in Krishna consciousness is not deep, then after some time you go, and just disappear.
Thank you. That was a great answer, Maharaj.
Okay, so anything else? You still have your, okay, but in Rosalind?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Yes, I think at the beginning of this chapter, there was mention of a banyan tree being upside down. What does this mean, this image of the roots in the air and the branches in the ground? Can you explain this imagery, why this imagery is used? I don't understand.
Have you ever seen a banyan tree in real life? Banyan tree is a unique type of tree that you don't even understand what is the root and what is the branches, because the roots come out from the earth, from the ground, and they grow up and they mix. And some of the branches go down and enter into the becomes a huge thing you don't understand. So the banyan tree is a very recurrent. It's a very recurrent tool to explain something extremely complicated. The material world, we are in a body, and we don't understand why we are here, why we should not be here, why I'm not happy, why this and why that. It's very complicated. And also to explain the material world is very complicated. It's not easy because, and I think Saturday we gave some example of things that cannot be explained unless we change our way of thinking. It cannot be explained because it's another world. You cannot judge another world with the intelligence that was made for this world. Just like the scientists say that there is nothing on Mars, and there is nothing on the moon, there is nothing and nobody on the sun. We don't agree. In the Vedas, it's said that all the planets are inhabited, but we don't see anything. So how is it possible? So explain to materialistic scientists how this universe, how all the universes, because there is not only one universe, are made. It's a gigantic enterprise or a venture or a feat, okay? Because they don't want to understand anything that is different from their way of thinking. They don't want to give up their way of thinking and change it to make it fit to understand something else. If something that is not understandable by my way of thinking, then I don't want to know. This is a scientist, but scientists should not think like that. Scientists should think this way. I will accept anything that I will find during my journey of knowledge, even if what I find is contrary to what I was thinking at the beginning. Because scientists, they think different. They first say, this is the truth. And then I will arrange dishonestly what I find to adjust my personal conviction. This is intellectual dishonesty. A scientist should not have any, any pre-conviction, should be open. So the Veda explained that the universe is made of multi-dimension. So what it means, multi-dimension? Means that what you see in this dimension may be completely different in another dimension. In another dimension, distance can be different. In another dimension, you go on Mars and there is nothing, but if you are a yogi, you can enter into the other dimension. You see cities and you see trees and you see everything. And so this is the secret of entering this world. You should be open to things that at the present you think that are impossible. So I think that this answers.
Yes, I think so. Thank you. Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay, Cassandra, Martin, Cassandra.
Okay, so my next question is on text 6. Krishna says, the last sentence, one who reaches it never returns to this material world. He's saying this material world. Why doesn't he say material worlds? Because there's more than one material world. So it makes me kind of, I guess, have doubt to think that, well, maybe there is a slither or some way we can come back, maybe not to this material world, but maybe to some other world. So maybe if you can help clear that up for me.
Yeah, the expression material world is a generic expression. It's not referring to anything specific. Material world means the opposite of the spiritual world. All the material worlds, sometimes words or expression are used in a generic way and sometimes in a specific way. Sometimes the generalization has been used and sometimes specification has been used. So we have to understand when generalization are being used and when specifications are being used.
And then when we have these questions and we're we kind of have doubts of like what Krishna is saying to us, is this meaning that we have doubt in him as well? Like, which obviously, since that we're neophytes, I'm sure we have doubts in Krishna. But is this something that we notice? We can take note of ourselves.
Of course, you are doubtful. If you didn't have any doubt, you would be a liberated soul, which you are not yet. So doubts are part of knowledge. You cannot gather knowledge. You cannot amass knowledge unless you have some doubts. Of course, depends how you express your doubts. There are offensive ways, just like if you go to school and you have some doubts, you say, Professor, I have some doubts. I don't agree. You can say that. I don't agree with what you said. Can you explain me better? This is a positive way of expressing doubts. It's not bad, Another thing is say, oh no, you are a nonsense. You say things. So this is impossible. This is crazy. This is not positive. This is not positive. This is just destructive way. You are going to ruin your process of knowledge, because you have to accept that if a professor is a professor, it's because he knows more than you. Otherwise, you would be the professor, he would be the student. So you should accept at least the fact that he is the professor, and you should learn. Then, yes, you can have doubts and learn how to express in a positive, constructive way, without thinking that unless I don't agree everything with what he says, I will not I will not, I will never become a devotee. I will never become a devotee because I had doubts. There are devotees who had doubts the entirety of their lives. It's not demoniac. Some devotee told me one time, I'm a demon because I had doubts. That's a human nature. So don't worry about your doubts, just work on them. Some of them, the majority of them, will soon be wiped away, will be explained, and you will become convinced that you will, not convinced, you will understand them, okay? Some not, some maybe will take two lives, maybe 3 lives, because if someone understands something and you don't understand something, it's not because it's more intelligent, just more ready than you. So why is more ready? Maybe it's been having doubts for 5 lives. So he arrives to a point of having no doubt because you have been working for 10 lives on these doubts. And you may have 1, 2, 3, 4 doubts, something that you can't accept. And that's okay. Then if you don't make it this life, then next life, and next life, at the end, you will solve your problem because you are sincere. You are obviously a devotee. It's just a question of time and work, not just time. It's not, doubts do not go away with time. Doubts go away with work. Means studying and practicing, etc., etc.
So, like desiring it will bring upon more work, right? Is that correct?
Yes. You just have the desire. You don't. There is a fine distinction between enthusiasm of desire or wanting something soon, but this desire, if not worked out, and can also become pathological.
Yeah.
Can actually become a pathology because you want it. There was one devotee, sometimes I remember, there was one devotee in Vrindavan in India. She came to me and she said, I've been chanting Hare Krishna for 30 years. I live in India, etc., etc. I read of ecstasies. I don't have any ecstasy, etc., etc. I was preaching to her, trying to understand. I know why she was making a lot of mistakes, etc. But I didn't really. She's not my disciple. I can't say, I can't jump on people's head and start, pontifying. And she started to kind of being upset with me. She was almost yelling, saying, "No, I want it now. I want it. Why I don't want to wait. I want it now." This is pathology. This is when someone becomes a psychological disease. And it is very important in spiritual life, just like I remember one question that you made to me last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, I don't remember, that about emotions and intelligence. So intelligence is stronger. Intelligence is stronger. You have to be more philosophical, you have to be more pragmatic in spiritual life. And this example of the banyan tree that is so complicated to understand what is what, this is a very clear example, very easy example to understand that things are more difficult than they look to you. And in time, you will understand why it's so complicated. So easy, you chant Hare Krishna, you'll be happy. That's the beginning of your spirit. You hear this, but it's not so. This is just a generalization. Chant Hare Krishna, be happy, of course. We chant Hare Krishna. You don't go back to Krishna so simply, in such a simple way. But the complication of material world is strong. we have to learn to be sometimes, often, not always, because we cannot say to anyone, oh, don't be emotional, oh, don't be sentimental. But this is a part of human nature. You cannot cancel the things, you know. They just have to be arranged in such a way that don't become predominant. Because emotions are just often, they're not true. It's just an emotion that comes out in the moment. But then your intelligence may tell you something that is more real, that is more true. That's why utilizing intelligence, and intelligence becomes stronger with philosophical understanding. With philosophical understanding, you can control your emotions, and then you can rule your spiritual life. You can govern and not being governed by your emotions. Just like you were telling me the other time, I remember that you hear classes of one day you've never seen in your life, and you felt some emotions, and you don't know who he is, you know. How can you, you know, it's okay that you are attracted to what he says, but being attracted to him, that's a different thing. You have to know the person. Maybe he's not so good. Maybe he talks more than he does. Maybe who knows? So emotions, if you hear a nice class, that's right, to be attracted to what he says, but then with intelligence, you say, one moment, you know, it's okay being attracted to words, but not attracted to person you don't know. Because in the past, in our movement, we have seen a lot of disaster caused by this, a lot of disasters, especially in the world of gurus and leaders, where devotees went off outside of ISKCON or even inside ISKCON, taking initiation by bandits, you know, people totally unworthy, totally, you know, and then what happened? You know, their spiritual life is destroyed because even if someone take a re-initiation, which we don't like actually, even if the person is bad, many of ISKCON gurus, they don't want to initiate people who have been initiated by other gurus, even if they are the gurus who are just unworthy. They were falling down, having sex and smoking, all kinds of criminal activities. Even with that, there are many leaders in ISKCON. He said, no, I'm not going to reinitiate you. And it's finished. They're finished. I can count with the fingers of one hand people taking initiation from fallen gurus, which is a contradiction in terms. The guru doesn't fall down. If he falls down, it's never a guru. A guru down. So, and I can count on the fingers of someone initiated by a so-called fallen guru who actually made advancement in spiritual life. They are very strange, devoted their whole lives, very strange, and beard and thing, and they are long hairs, and they talk strange things. They're just the Adam's family of Vaishnavism, you know, very weird stuff. So that's why intelligence should be predominant over emotions. Intelligence is made strong by study of philosophy and practice, of course.
This is all very practical. Thank you, Maharaj.
Yes. Take initiation from ISKCON gurus, you know, and know the guru from whom you will take initiation. Know him. Just know him personally. Don't take initiation from someone on the other part of the world. You'll see maybe a couple of times all of your life will never answer. Just be practical, you know, the one, take initiation for someone who can actually help you. And we have many. We have more than 70 gurus in ISKCON. Okay, I think we have time for the last questions, and then we are finished and we'll see next Saturday, if there is someone. No. Okay, so thank you so much for this nice conversation, which I enjoyed a lot. And I keep working on the Mahabharata, and see you next Thursday. And some of you will see you in a couple of days only. Thank you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Bol.
Thank you,
Hare
hermano.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna. Hare Bol.